if we were taking a large group of students that are being educated outside of the district, even in an IU program, that would qualify as transfer between entity.
And my other question is, you say you don't have any corrective action or improvement plans.
Mm-hmm.
Does that refer, in the other part of the report, the 4 areas
Mm-hmm.
that didn't meet the target
Mm-hmm.
by this much?
Yeah.
Are those the ones you're referring to were not going to be addressed?
So the indicators where we miss the targets, they don't require improvement plans. They just require us to indicate what is our forward action. So what professional development or what things are we continuing to work on to get closer to the state targets for those things. As a result of cyclical monitoring, which is something we'll have next school year, where we're audited a little more deeply, sometimes there's action planning or improvement planning that comes out of that. So if we were currently in a situation where we were on an improvement plan, that would have to be noted in that section, and we're just not in that situation right now.
Well, I noticed it was by such a tiny amount, I don't know how you would identify where you could fix that little bit.
Yeah, some of the percentages were rather small, and some of that data is rather old as well.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think I did reach out and ask for some more updated data just to get a better feel for where we are today, and I was not provided that, just that was something we needed to respond to. I think our approach is really, if there's an area, so in some cases the state target's very high, it's 100%, and obviously we want to meet that. In some cases the target's lower and we want to exceed that. So even if we're not quite there, we know we can do better. So we're still kind of looking ahead and figuring out how we can address those issues even without the most recent data.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Anybody else have any other questions? So you said we'll approve that March 16th, and then you have to submit it in April.
It has to be submitted by May 1st. So after
May 1st, that's what you said.
After it's submitted on March 16th, we need board president signature and Dr. Hartman to sign one line through the web-based program, and ultimately the whole thing has to be submitted by May 1st.
Gotcha. Very cool. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're now at the first section of public comment. If anybody has any public comments referencing tonight's agenda specifically, please feel free to speak up. Okay. Oh, yeah, sure. I know you are, but you are a district resident. Yes, ma'am. It should be. Just, yeah, pull it a little closer to you just to make sure. I think it's hot.
All right.
There, now we got you.
All right. Most of you, I think, know me,
Yes, ma'am.
but there are a few new faces. My name is Diane Tyson, and I'm a resident of the district. And I have probably attended more school board meetings over the last 25 years than all of you put together, with the exception of Mrs. Groff. I want to address the board on the policy for changing the athletic policy. Let me get my notes here. I was present for all of the 2023 discussions regarding this topic. At the time, the board chose to follow the law and to trust the administration to determine the eligibility when the PIAA defers to the school. The current established policy was passed 5-1 via a motion by Mrs. Capta and seconded by Mrs. Tobridge, and the dissenter is no longer on the board. The current policy states, the program of interscholastic athletics shall be made available to all students in alignment with equal opportunity standards of federal, state, and school district authorities and the Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletic Association. With over 4,000 students currently enrolled, the policy on the agenda for discussion affects, to my knowledge, 0 of them. The district goals for the next 3 years are for students to improve achievement and close learning gaps, to recruit, retain, and recognize staff, to continue to monitor facilities, and to enhance engagement and communication with the CV community. I question the use of the board and, frankly, my valuable time, since I'm here with you every meeting, to discuss an issue that is addressed in the 2025 Federal Title IX guidance and subsequent PIAA policy changes that the CV policy is to respect and follow. I urge you to make your discussions brief and to move swiftly to address issues that directly impact our current students who are here today. Please use your time to actively advance the mission and goals of this district and not those of outside influences. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. You are a district resident?
I am.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you state your name?
Sure. My name is Angie Chelton. I live in Neola, and I'm a parent of 5 kids in this district, including 2 teenage girls who play on the CV lacrosse, softball, and basketball teams. I have a few things to share about this proposed athletics policy in the agenda, and I promise I will try to be brief. First, please stop insinuating that the athletes I am raising would never be able to compete against a trans girl. This is insulting, and it doesn't reflect reality. Although there is an 80s level satanic panic in some school boards lately, I hope not this one, that trans girls will steal all the athletic scholarships and make it impossible for cis girls to compete. This is untrue. In December of 2024, NCAA President Charlie Baker testified before the U.S. Senate that he was aware of fewer than 10 transgender athletes in all of the student athletes currently competing in NCAA programs. So that's 510,000 students. Outsports, a publication that highlights LGBTQIA athletes, lists around 47 known trans athletes who have competed in college sports. Trans athletes stealing scholarships from cis girls is not a realistic issue. Please don't buy into a pretend problem that will require valuable time and resources to create a pretend solution. I'm also a licensed therapist in the state of Pennsylvania. From a mental health perspective, policies that single out or exclude transgender kids are not neutral. They cause measurable harm. Trans and gender diverse youth already face significantly higher rates of anxiety, depression, self-harm, and suicidality. Supportive environments, including schools that allow students to exist without constant scrutiny, are associated with lower risk and better outcomes. There is no credible evidence that trans-inclusive policies increase harm to other students. There is strong evidence that rejection, surveillance, and public debate, like this, over a child's legitimacy increases psychological distress. When adults argue about whether a child belongs, the child hears one message: you are a problem. Please don't single out queer kids and create policies that will prevent them from flourishing. Queer kids are not a threat to their peers. Policies that make them seem like a threat are contrary to reality. In fact, these students desperately need and deserve our support and care. Finally, I am also the pastor of Pilgrim's Mennonite Church in Akron, PA. I don't believe that the faith perspective of any religion should be mixed in with civic institutions, but since Christian nationalists insist on treating school boards, city councils, and legislatures as extensions of the pulpit, let's be clear. The gospel does not ask Christians to control the policies of public institutions. Jesus did not call us to seize government power and to enact our way through policy. He called us to humility, to service, to truth-telling, and to care for the vulnerable. Forcing a narrow theological interpretation onto public school policy, especially when it harms children, is not faithfulness, it's coercion. I implore you to think of the real, demonstrable needs of the vulnerable students in your care. Girls don't need you to defend them from imaginary hordes of trans athletes. But LGBTQIA students need you to care for them as they learn and grow under your supervision. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Anybody want to take a chance to share? Okay. Thank you for those that did. On to our action discussion items. We have the approval of the superintendent's report.
Move to approve the superintendent's report.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any nays or abstentions? Nope, okay. And then we have the review of a BAA grant for softball.
Hello, I'm Shannon Soul. I'm the BAA secretary filling in for Shelley tonight. She is sick at home.
Okay.
The grant that we are proposing is for a windscreen for the softball field. I believe it's quote number 2, and the amount is $976.
Do you need approval on this tonight, or?
No, we're going to come back next week for the approval. This is just to present the grant.
Okay. Any questions about that particular one? That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thanks.
We have a review for the proposal for Valley Voice CSPA Conference overnight trip to New York.
I'd like to say that I found this to be a really complete application. Not necessarily in the best order, but it was all there, and it would be a good starting point for us to come up with a specific application form.
Sure.
Very well done, very complete, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Janae Lapp. I teach journalism at the high school, and I will be going on the trip along with Mel Upton. And if you have any questions, please let me know. But hopefully all the details should be there.
Can I ask, the money that the students will be providing towards this, were they given an opportunity to do any fundraising for that, or is everyone reaching into their parents' pockets?
So students are responsible for their hotel rooms for one night and for food and subway costs. Everything else is covered for them. They were offered, if they had financial need, they could ask for support. And a few of them did take up that opportunity, and that was just covered from grant money and things like that. We decided as Valley Voice not to do fundraising for this particular trip, but if we do this again in the future, that could be an option.
Could I ask the superintendent, I see a piece this is coming out of their department budget. Do they have the freedom to use it for anything like that? It's only for a few students? I mean, once they get their budget, do they have the freedom to use it as they feel necessary?
We have typically, when we have students with financial need, we have different means we can look into, like we allocate some funds from different sources for that. A principal has some extra money in their building
I wasn't
budget.
necessarily thinking of students in need. I was thinking of the amount that the English department language arts department is chosen to cover from their budget.
Sure, that could ultimately come out of the budget process if that's something, if that chooses to. Typically, something like the English department budget would go to academic curricular programs for the most part, not extracurriculars, but they that could be an English department decision that they could propose.
Okay.
And it is something that we set aside funds for. So whenever we made the budget for this year, I had requested a certain amount to be used for this field trip. And so that was in the budget already to be used for that.
Yeah. Well, I was pleased that you found some grant money.
Yes, yes.
Any other questions? And do we need to approve this tonight? No, it's all good. Should be a fun trip.
Yeah, looking
Yeah,
forward to it.
yeah.
We went for one day last time, so this is our first overnight, so should be good.
Very cool.
All right,
Very
thank
cool.
you.
Awesome. Thank you. And getting an attaboy for my debt for a well-written one is also, those aren't handed out easily, so well done. You also have next, we have the review of the Fritz Elementary renovation bids. Ken, you may need to turn that mic on.
You can start with the recommendation letter and then, yeah. So on Thursday, we brought in the bids for Fritz Elementary School. We bid an additional prime this time from when we did Leola, which is the roofing contract. So we did the general, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, food service, and roofing. Our recommendation letter there consists of each of the apparent low bidders for each of those prime contracts, along with their low bid amount. Also included is one alternate that we are recommending, which is there under the general construction contract, which is alternate number 1, which is a mill and overlay of the rear parking lot behind the gym. That's listed there to be added to the general construction contract. Otherwise, there aren't any other alternates recommendations for tonight. In addition, on Thursday, we brought in an asbestos bid separately, and then also received input or pricing for a separate purchase program for the mechanical equipment that we've done previously on the other jobs, which allows the district to both save and actually improve the schedule by purchasing the mechanical and the controls separately. That's not listed on this letter as it wasn't part of the public bid process. The other document that is in your packet is the bid tab. And we can go through that, but what it lists is, it lists every contractor that bid. We had, on a couple of the primes, we had just 2 bidders, but on some others, we had 3, 4, or 5 bidders. Yeah, that's the middle one there. And it'll list a summary sheet. So if, again, at the very top there, the summary sheet lists what is on our recommendation letter for a contract total there on the bottom right of about 28.1 million. Each of the following sheets is for each prime, so it lists all the bids plus their alternates if there was an alternate bid as well. And I can go through anything in depth or dig into any of those prime contracts if you would like. And then on the back of that sheet or that PDF there also includes the asbestos bids that we received. That's the last one there, so we received 5 bids there. With the recommended one. All the recommended amounts are highlighted in yellow.
When we did Leola, we were fortunate that the winning bids were generally from contractors we were familiar with and had a positive attitude towards, and that really did pay off. Mm-hmm. So my question here is this a similar situation, or are these all new contractors that we're not overly familiar with?
There's a mix here of people that we have. There's 2 contractors on here that we have on Leola currently. A third one that was on the middle school, and a roofing contractor that we're very familiar with. And the one that has not been on a project here is the general contractor. So we've placed multiple calls on that.
Probably should clarify that they've not been on a major project.
Right, yeah, that's true.
They've been here to support the HVAC projects that we did this past summer. But we've done some due diligence in reaching out to other school districts and architects and designers and have gotten nothing but glowing recommendations back. So they've done work in Ephrata, Gettysburg, Cumberland
Central
Valley,
Dauphin.
Central Dauphin.
Yeah.
So they've done some larger work in other districts.
I hope it works out that way.
Yeah. And our asbestos abatement consultant, he has reached out to the low bidder there as well. And again, he's worked with them. Christopher and his firm has also worked with them on a project. School district in Lancaster?
Lancaster Catholic.
Lancaster Catholic. So they're the only one that I'm not familiar with. Everybody else in there, except for Unlimited, I've had limited experience with them, but everybody else I've worked with over the years. So.
Any other questions for these guys? Were any of the picture, I can't remember if any of the pictures of Leola were attached in this report. I don't think they were,
Nah,
but
this is just the Fritz. bid.
Leola's coming together really, really well. So the board will most likely get a chance to tour that again, first or second meeting in April, because by then I think some furniture will have shown up and stuff. So, and I'm very familiar with that school with my own children, so I'll be excited to see the catacombs looking a little less catacomby. With some more color down in the basement, and some of those giant pillars going in the rooms that already looks really good. So thanks for putting all this together.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next, we have a review of the Public School Facility Improvement Grant Resolution.
Hi, good evening. So back in November, you approved an agreement between CV and a company named GSL to help us work in applying for facility renovation-related projects to get some grant money from the state. They notified us recently of a grant opening. It's called the Public School Facility Improvement Grant. And last month, Ken Johnson had presented to you some projects through the budget process for 2 high school chillers and also the high school, some roofing projects. Those 2 qualify for this particular grant. So GSL has asked us to approve a resolution which authorizes Dr. Hartman and myself to execute any documents as we go through this grant process. Pretty short, sweet, to the point, I think.
Yeah. Any questions on that? No?
Do we have someplace in particular where we're planning on using this?
Yeah, the high school chillers,
I'm sorry.
the high school chillers.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be replacing those this summer if we get it through the budget, and then also some high school roofing projects. Now, the Fritz Elementary projects, we're going to be applying for redevelopment assistance construction program grant monies, RACP. So that's timing of this for both grants has just lined up perfectly.
Good.
So we'll keep our fingers crossed that they can get us a lot of grant money.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very
Thank
cool.
you.
Thank you, Adele.
All right, review of the calendars for the 26-27 and 27-28 school years.
Okay. Good evening. Quick change to the 26-27 calendar. So the board had approved this last February. We made 3 changes. One is we moved elementary conferences back to November. What we would like to do with the implementation of the new elementary progress report, we would like to have conferences in the fall, and then you can see we added conferences again in the spring. So there will be 2 opportunities for students and families to meet with teachers. Because the new progress report is really evidence and artifact based, that discussion with families is the most important part. So you'll see date changes for 26-27 there. And then we just made a change to the makeup days. We are not going to use President's Day moving forward as a makeup day. It just created some scheduling things with a lot of different stakeholders. So we're going to, we put a different day in there for that snow makeup day. So it's one of our collaboration days that we can bump to the summer if we need to. So that's 26-27, that's just a couple of adjustments. And then this is the first look at your 27-28 school year. Very, very similar to the 26-27, almost exactly the same with just a bump of a couple of days. So similar format, similar number of early dismissals, professional development, similar structure to the 26-27.
Refresh my memory, which 2 calendars did we approve originally?
25-26 this current year, and then 26-27 was your first. You approved that last February.
This is
a
the third year.
revision
Okay.
to that one.
I couldn't remember, and I.
So if you recall, we made a transition last year to wanting to approve calendars a year in advance for planning reasons for our families. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback from community members on that. So our plan is to we will still be approving a district calendar annually, but it will be for not the upcoming school year, but the year following that. So we're always staying ahead of our approved district calendar. So that was a significant shift, and I believe we're probably the only school district in Lancaster County who does that, to my knowledge. But they said we've gotten positive feedback. When you're trying to plan things like family coming in for graduation and stuff like that, the more we can give advance notice, the better. And calendars don't really change too much from year to year. So there's no reason we can't be approving them in advance. And every now and then there's a little tweak that needs to be made. They said the revisions for next school year aren't changing any days schools closed or anything like that. It's just changing dates of parent conferences.
So I have a question. So I'm just going to use my own kids as an example. So I have kids in elementary school, and I have kids in the middle, a son in the middle school. Well, we'll be the high school next year. The feedback from that with parents that had kids in two separate buildings, that was generally okay, because to me, it makes me feel like we may be making parents take off an additional day that may not necessarily be needed if all schools were open or if all those schools were closed. Considering, like for me, I have a kid in one school and two other boys in another school. But the calendar committee didn't seem to get any other feedback from that.
The feedback we got when the middle school conferences and elementary conferences were combined were actually that it put a lot of strain on families like yours that had students at both levels in both buildings, because they were trying to fit their conference appointments in at two different schools, two different locations, in similar hours and similar time frames. So that would have been one of the other pieces of feedback we considered in this, in moving the elementary back to the November again.
Okay. And then my other question is, I think until when you guys approved the calendar for 2 years in a row, is this the first time that we've had it where the schools, two different school buildings have been open and one has been closed? Is this the first go around of this? Because I don't remember when I was on the previous board, that being, it was always, they were all off or they were all half day. My question is, what's changed in 2 years to have different buildings open, different closed at different times since before?
The conference days?
Yeah, and all that stuff. Like, what has changed? What made us go from what we did previously to this?
Yeah, mostly it's driven by the family teacher conferences and the times that they fit. So middle school, 2 years ago, Don, went back to marking periods. So when middle school shifted from, it was when everything lined up on a trimester, right? The end of the trimester, the time that you would have conversations with families were the same. When middle school went back to marking periods to follow the high school reporting time frame, that's when they shifted the conferences back to October to line up with the end of that first marking period. And then elementary, we're still on the trimester reporting.
Gotcha.
And so that kept our conferences on the trimester schedule.
Got it. Thank you.
The first thing I did when I looked at it was scroll down to the last day of school, and glad to see that it's in May for both years, so good.
Yes, thank you.
The only other note I had, which isn't necessarily a calendar comment, but kind of like the activity, the start of school activity stuff, is I remember this past year, I think there was a back to school night at one of the elementary schools. It might have been Fritz that ran into something else, and then we had to pick and choose. We had to pick and choose which kid gets priority.
Absolutely.
Which we do all the time as parents, but they don't need to hear those conversations. So the question would be, is it possible to try to watch those alignments?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. That's something as an admin team, when Katie Odell sends out the calendar for the fall dates, we have gotten better in May at getting together and looking at all those nights and making sure that they're not overlapping. That feedback we have heard loud and clear from families. Cool. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know there's lots of families that have multiple kids in multiple buildings, and trying to balance all that can be challenging.
Yes.
Awesome. Very cool. Any other questions about the calendar? No? Okay, cool.
This will be on consent next week then.
Awesome.
Thank
Very
you.
cool. Thanks, Jill. The next item actually references something specifically for you, IDET, last meeting, where we talked about when we have policies that have gone through the approval process with recommended changes, and the policy committee meets and discusses them, when it gets back to the board, we don't mention anything about the ones that were approved without changes. So we have in here, it says, O policies were reviewed and determined that no changes were necessary, which is following discussion of this item, last reviewed date in board docs. So is that kind of what you're intending?
Absolutely. That's what I did not intend, was for us to approve a policy review cycle, and then the first half year we get there, we violate it.
Right.
That makes no sense to me. I mean, this is not a big deal with this particular policy, but I feel as if we bothered to set a calendar, we should stick with it. I mean, this is the first quarter, we've used it, and already we're breaking away. According to that review cycle, in the third quarter, which is what we're in right now, we would do the 700 series, which is what we're doing. And the next quarter is set aside, as was the previous quarter, for any new policies out of order that we get from PSBA, any policies because of circumstances we decide we want to change. So I know this one seems small, but it just seems to me that if we're going to put a process in place, we ought to follow it. It just makes no sense. So I am making a motion to move this item to the April agenda in accordance with policy review cycle approved by the board, and to avoid violating our own approval process.
You're talking about the 000 policies, yes? Which,
Well, we're talking about the O, and I have made a motion to put that item off
gotcha,
to where it fits into our policy.
sure. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Do we need a roll call for that? Or we
That's
just
up to you if you think it's
I
going
don't
to be
think we'll need
split.
it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any nays? Okay, we'll put it back in policy review, back where it should be. Okay, so next will be the discussion of the proposed new policy 123. There are two attachments which have been attached publicly. And Phil, you kind of started that one on the
Yes.
20th.
Can I move ahead, please?
Sure.
For the same reason, I'm recommending that we put this policy off until the fourth quarter. In this case, there's a secondary reason why it makes sense, and I don't want to steal Phil's discussion, but right now there is a case before the Supreme Court, which means once they decide what should be the law of the land, we'll just have to make our policy match it because we always follow the law. So by putting it off to where it is supposed to be in the agenda, we also give ourselves the advantage of not having to visit this policy twice in one cycle. So that is my motion that this also be moved.
So there's a motion to move the discussion of 123 into, you said
April.
4th April. Okay. Yes.
For clarification, that would be in alignment with when we have scheduled 100s to be reviewed next.
Well, the 100s now are in the next quarter after that.
Correct, the fourth quarter.
Yeah. But because it's out of order, I'm perfectly happy in doing it in April. If not, we can wait. Well, that's April to June, so, if we wanted to wait till July, we could, especially if we wanted to wait to get word from the Supreme Court what we should do. Which, for those of you that weren't here in 2024, when we spent 6 months with this, that was one of our biggest reasons for having a more moderate policy, because we wanted to make sure we followed the law, and it was awfully hard to know what the law was because every couple of weeks a different court ruled differently. And now it's finally going to get to the Supreme Court, so we will know definitively what we're supposed to do. And I quite frankly just want, whatever they decide is fine with me. I just want to know what we're supposed to do.
Well, and I know one of the, kind of like I mentioned at the beginning, knowing that the 100 series was coming up, one of the things we were going to do was, if it needed to be introduced tonight, it would fall in line with that regular policy review schedule anyway when the 100s come up, so it would, the agreement is that it would fall into the usual review policy. So the policy review team would review all the 100s, this would be included. It goes through all, we don't want to deviate from that schedule for sure. We want it to follow the same first, second reading, that whole thing. So the
I have a
proposal would be
motion,
to.
I'm hoping I'll get at least a second.
Gotcha. So your motion is to put off even discussion of this until it comes up in the review schedule
Yeah,
in
which would
fourth
be
quarter.
either April or July, whenever.
April or July.
People proposing it would prefer to discuss it, and possibly thinking whether or not the Supreme Court,
Will rule.
yeah, I was going to say get off their butts, but I won't say that.
Well, you just did, so, and everybody heard it.
I'm hoping for a second.
So just to clarify, since there's a lot of words, the motion is to put off the discussion of this until its proper review series, which would be the April-June timeframe. Is there a second?
I would second that because I don't want to have to talk about it 35 more times.
Sure. Okay, then let's do a roll call vote.
Mrs. Groff?
Aye.
Mr. Benigno?
No.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Eby?
No.
Mrs. Kapka?
No.
Mrs. Fisher?
Aye.
Ms. Givler?
No.
Mr. Gensel?
Aye.
We have a 4-4 vote.
What's that?
We have a 4-4
A tie
vote.
fails.
My understanding of that policy review is, one, to make sure I's are dotted, T's are crossed, any change in updating and wording, and every time we get a new law that gets passed or comes down from PSBA, that's when we immediately do it. We don't have, the review thing is there to make sure the cupboards are cleaned out, the shelves are dusted. But any additional special things that you want to do can be done at any time. So.
No, that's absolutely true. Any board member has the right to bring up any policy for review at any time. Just because we have a schedule for review doesn't mean it has to be reviewed. In this particular situation, the motion that was just passed now has that being pushed off until its normal review cycle. So we'll have to wait a couple months till a normal review for the policy 100s to come up. They'll be reviewed, and then maybe by then we'll have some more information.
So,
It was a tie. It doesn't mean it gets pushed.
right.
Correct.
Yeah, what does it mean in a tiebreaker? We haven't had that happen before. Right, that's what I'm saying. Oh, the motion didn't pass. Okay, gotcha. So, my apologies. I took that the wrong way.
So we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to comment, and I appreciate Idette and her opinion, as always. My personal opinion is that we've been kicking this can down the road for 3 years now, and we've been dealing with this over and over. The thought of continuing to kick it down the road, to me, is just redundant. Things have changed since 2023. 24, sorry. There's been a couple big changes. First, PIAA, who is in charge of our interscholastics, has changed their policy. Mr. Eby will get into that in a little bit. Also, there is a presidential executive order in place, which is different from 2024 and 2023. We have several schools in the area that have already done this. Henfield being one, Penn Manor being another, several in York, Lebanon, I can go on and on and on. So why bringing this was because I thought that by doing this now, we would simply be aligning our policy with current PIAA interscholastic policy, which, as Mr. Eby will go on a little bit here. So there are two proposals that we can discuss tonight. One is 123.3 with accommodation. The other is 123.3 without accommodation. Everything is there for your review. I know tonight is not a vote, and that's fine. And even if the majority of the board does want to move forward on this, this policy would not take place until the 100s are reviewed. So whether we talk about it February 9th or we talk about it April 9th, It doesn't matter. It's not going to get done through our format and through our processes and through our legal counsel until then anyhow. So everybody has what they have to review. There are some accommodations in the one. There are no accommodations in the other. And Mr. Eby, if you want to talk about the PIAA Interscholastic, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there was no PIAA policy until it was, I think, April last year or something
Correct.
like that, that they adopted their policy. And I think what Mr. Benigno has here basically aligns with the policy that they've adopted.
I'd like to see a policy of how PIAA worded it. I haven't seen that.
Mr. Eby has that.
I'm sorry, what?
Phil has that policy.
Okay. The other thing is, there's a big difference between what PIAA says and what the Office of the OCR says. Right now, we're dealing with, nonetheless, of those directives that are legal, they also are conflicting.
Well, right.
The PIAA just adds another piece to that mixed-up puzzle. My question, I went over this, and I've got it all marked up. My first question is, did you reference, there's a footnote for the CSA, I'm sorry, the CFR.
Correct.
In one of the footnotes. Did you check that out? Do you have a copy of that, or do you know what that is, a CFR?
Yeah, I have that here. Hold on. So the CFR, it's the same wording. So where it says guidelines, it says, it is the policy of this district that athletic teams and sports shall not be segregated on the basis of irrelevant qualifications such as sex, color, religion, ancestry, national origin. That is the same wording as in the CFR.
Okay. Did you check this out for any conflict with any of the wording in 123 or 448.1?
You mean our current 123?
Excuse me?
You said 123, and our current 123?
Yeah.
There's no, current 123 is very vague, so there is no comparison. It just says what is fair when we pass that in 2023. Again, we're now 2 years, and the excuse 2 years ago was, well, the PIAA hasn't, they don't know what they're doing yet. Well, here we go. Now we have it. No, it's not in our policy.
The 123.1 or just 123, that is fine and dandy, but this is more detail
Correct.
underneath that.
Correct.
So you say you want to buy a car. Well, I'm going to ask you follow-up questions. Do you want a sedan? Do you want a truck? Do you want an SUV? Like, there's other stuff, more details.
There's more distinction.
Color. So yes, we want more details and more, and not vague and gray.
Correct.
So.
Well, for 123, if PIAA has changed some of their wording, then we would have to go back and fix that up, too.
Phil, do you want to read the wording from PIAA so Mrs. Groff could hear it?
I need to see it. I'm not a good auditor.
Oh, well, he'll send it. Oh, you want to read it, then send it? Why don't you read it and then send it to them both, please? Do you need help?
Is it that long?
No, I think he's just finding it.
It's like 110 pages.
Thanks.
The whole policy. PIAA strongly supports and encourages participation by both boys and girls in interscholastic athletics based upon real and demonstrable physical and competitive differences between similarly aged and trained boys and girls in athletic performances. PIAA recognizes that combining genders for competition purposes would have a chilling effect on female participation in interscholastic athletics. PIAA further recognizes that historically girls' participation has been much more limited than boys' participation. To promote participation by the historically underrepresented gender in the fair competitive environment, PIAA therefore classifies sports by gender and limits mixed gender participation. And then it goes on.
That doesn't, I maybe didn't hear real well. That didn't sound quite as, Yeah.
I'll email it to you.
Yeah, please do. That'd be much easier. It seems to me that we're going to have, if we pass this, we need to go back and review all of our other related policies.
That's fine.
All the way through to our non-discrimination based on sex. So sometimes we specify that gender identity is not to be considered. In other places, at the same time, we turn around and say, well, then we do have to consider gender identity. The same is true with what's referred to as differential treatment. I'm not sure I understand how, and we discussed this before, and these are just the places where I think we need to specify. The issue of original birth certificates, you must treat all kids the same. That means everybody has to provide them.
Correct. And they provide birth certificate when they register for kindergarten.
But our concern was foreign students from other states that allow them to change their birth certificate. So they would show us a birth certificate that identified one gender, and we would not know that that had been changed. Another issue, well, I think we sort of don't follow what we're saying. It says the policy of this district that athletic teams and sports shall not be segregated on the basis of irrelevant classifications such as color, religion, ancestry, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender identity. And then just below that, we do that very thing we say we're not going to do. So, at some point, we have to make up our mind if we're wearing shoes on our left or our right feet.
Well, I think what it is saying the purpose and then what the situation entails after that. And I think
but when you read that, it says we won't do it.
Well, that's why we're talking about,
Yeah.
this is not, what this here is an example. This is
No,
not set in
I
stone.
get it. I was just checking that out.
Either way,
My
we're
other
submitting it to
question
Jeff.
is, we talk about sports being specifically male or specifically female. But we don't say that. I mean, this goes back, generations, when football, nobody thought twice about it. It's a boys' team. Field hockey, nobody thought twice about it. It's a girls' team. But to fully use these, we need to go back.
Sure.
And rename every one of our teams as to whether or not it's specifically boys, girls, or mixed.
Is that
They are.
Yeah.
They all are?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're all mixed.
No.
No, they're all labeled.
Every single sport we have gets reported to PIAA if it's a boys
Is
or.
it labeled that?
or
Because
girls,
anything
yeah.
I've seen, it just referred to. in
No, it is.
general. Okay.
So,
I have some concerns about how you decide if a boy's been in puberty. I don't want to get into it now, but that seemed like a difficult hill to climb
well,
for me.
that would be for the accommodation section. That would be, and then with that, and then it states in there, if the child has gone through puberty, they have to get a note from their doctor.
So who do we demand that from? And
The student.
somebody needs to explain to me how a doctor can tell. And
How a doctor can tell.
I'm sorry.
If I can just put a pause on that real quick, just because before we get into any of those types of things, this still has to go to our solicitor for legal review
Correct.
anyway.
Yeah,
And
a
we all
lot of
know
this
that
is-
lawyers love red pen, so I'm sure there'll be plenty. There's also other considerations as well. We have our athletic director as well, there'll be
Correct.
input for that. So there's several things that we would put this through anyway for that review,
And
so.
the last issue I would want to see addressed is gym classes. It talks about contact sports. I don't know how we're going to address what they're allowed to do in gym class and what they're not allowed to do. Those are just overarching issues they're going to come up that when we make a change, I think we need to make sure we've covered all our bases.
And I agree. But I don't know if gym class is considered contact. Is that, Dr. Hartman?
Well, it says contact
That's why I'm asking if gym is considered that. Is that considered contact?
About
I'm not sure if
contact
I
sports
understand.
and gym class.
I don't know why it would or wouldn't be considered.
I don't think that's
No,
the gym
that's not a
classes of
thing.
our past are not the gym classes of today.
Yeah.
'Cause
It
my
says
daughter
that-
walked in middle school for a gym class.
Yeah, this says it's
Like,
it's
where's
not
the
meant to
baseball
restrict
playing?
the district from maintaining co-ed gym classes. So if you have co-ed gym classes, are you going to specify what sports can be played in those gym classes?
Do we?
No, it would just be co-ed.
It's just co-ed.
It's just
You'd be
one of the
identifying
many,
it.
as I read this, all these questions that came up through my mind.
I agree.
That's among them. I think, as we discuss this, when we make a decision one way or the other, or the Supreme Court does for us, we need to make sure we go back and comb through all the other policies that it applies to and make them more specific.
Correct. And that would be,
That's all I'm saying is, and there's a huge amount. I mean, I dug out what I had, and the latest thing I had was dated 2024 when we passed this.
right.
And back then, the legal rulings we got were contradictory sometimes. The organizations that have authority over us had different positions.
Yeah, and that has changed.
Evidently, the only thing that's changed is PIAA. And
And an executive order.
so I just bring all this up more as a matter of, these are the things we have to look at.
Correct. And we understand that. And we understand that the wording in this may or may not change. I'm not saying that this is gospel. That's not what I'm,
Yeah.
but go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm really struggling with what exactly we're discussing right now, because from a top-down perspective, none of this goes anywhere without the solicitor giving it the green light. We're going bottom up, and we're getting in the weeds, talking about details that have zero relevance right now.
Well, and I think that's why Mark wanted to bring this up to see where if the board tonight wants to move.
Well, we're not going to go tit for tat on it.
Well, and
We
that's,
already
yeah, that's
sat
what
on it.
we'll do. So, I mean, with the motion failing, it's clear that we'll put this into the review process. So that it
Thank
will
you.
go to solicitor for
That's what I
his
was trying to get
perspective
at.
on that. There'll be further review. We'll put it into the normal review cycle.
Sure.
So when the hundreds come up, so it'll be part of the policy committee, which means that with that normal review cycle, there'll be plenty of time for more public input as well. First reading, second reading, all of that is normal. So we want to make sure we're on the up and up with all that.
I agree.
So that's what we'll do.
Yeah, I would note that by the time we get a legal ruling, we'll be into that cycle
Yeah, wait a minute.
anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
can't
Well,
forget
we're
that.
expecting a May, June timeframe if we go to pass this around that timeframe anyway.
Yeah.
Sure, and we'll just, yeah, we'll keep, obviously, I'm sure if the Supreme Court can make a decision, that will become, everybody's phones will light up pretty quick on that.
I just want to make it clear that I think we need to be cognizant of the time that we're spending on this and the time that we've already spent on it.
Agreed,
So
agreed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and fine. I appreciate that, but again, things have changed, so we have to move with the changes as well.
Sure.
And I'm done. Thank you.
If I could just add a point of clarity before we move on, just for a lot of dates dates and years were being thrown around, and I just want to make sure everybody's clear and on the same page. Policy 123 was just revised in December of 2025. We just reviewed policy 123. It wasn't, so just, that's not a opinion on anything, just stating, just so we're clear, because I heard different dates being thrown out, and we just verified that was part of our last review cycle. Not 123.3, which is what the board is discussing tonight, but policy 123 was
In general.
was just revised and approved in December of 2025. And also just, I know we were talking about Supreme Court cases. Just want everybody to be aware and keep in mind, even with a clear decision, that decision may not be an edict for this is what schools should do or this is what states should do. What the Supreme Court's going to be ruling on is the two states, I think it's West Virginia and Washington, I believe.
Yeah.
Whether or not their policies as written are constitutional or not. So the end result of that might not be, here's what the Supreme Court is saying school districts should approve. So I don't know, just want to be clear on that. I'm certainly not a constitutional lawyer.
Let's hope they're more specific.
Right. But I guess my message is we may not want to hold our breath on getting a clear, this is what you need to be doing, or this is what the law says you should be doing.
Exactly.
It's going to be ruling on current state
Yep.
policies that have risen to the level of the Supreme Court.
Which is
Correct.
what we pay our solicitor to advise us on.
Correct.
Okay, well, let's move off of that. Then we just have the tentative board agenda for February 17th. So keep in mind that one. This is the last time for public comments, just in general, on anything, whether it was related to this agenda or not. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share in closing? No? Okay. Any other board initiatives or anything that the board has that they want to bring up? Discussion? Okay. So then I will take a motion to move to executive session to discuss superintendent goal updates.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting closed.